Today we're going to learn how to compare fractions. You're going to compare fractions that have like denominators, and you're also going to compare fractions that have unlike denominators. So just a quick recap. When you have a fraction, okay, so let's say you have the fraction 1/5, okay? 1 is the numerator because it's the number on the top, and 5 is the denominator because it's the number on the bottom. And so if you were looking at 1/5 of a pie, okay, here is a whole pie, okay, and this would be 1/5 of that pie. It's one piece of a pie that is cut into 5 equal pieces. And if you want to compare fractions that have the same denominator, this is actually fairly easy because if you think about it, if you have a pie cut into 5 pieces, okay, if I give my friend one piece, if I give him 1/5 of my pie, I'm giving him this amount of pie, okay? But if I eat 3/5 of that pie, okay, I want you to be thinking about who's eating more pie, my friend who had 1/5 or me who had 3/5. Think about it. So 1/5 my friend ate, okay? I ate 3/5. So here's 1/5 that my friend ate. Here's 3/5 that I ate. Clearly, who ate more? I did. I had more of the pie. I had 3/5 of the pie and my friend only had 1/5. So when the denominator is the same, okay, so when the total number of parts is the same, all you have to do to compare the fractions is look at the numerator. Whichever numerator is larger, that fraction will be larger for sure. This only works when the denominators are the same because the parts are the same size. So you're comparing the same size parts. So obviously, if you have 3 parts, that's going to be bigger than 1 part as long as those parts are the same size. All right? So let's do another example. All right? Let's do another example. If I have a pie cut into 4ths, okay, 4 equal parts, 1, 2, 3, 4, okay, if I eat 2/4 of the pie, okay, that would be this amount, okay, and if a friend of mine were to eat 1/4 of the pie, that would be this amount, okay, hold on, sorry. Which of us ate more pie? Well, I think you can easily see here that 2/4 is bigger than 1/4, okay? 2/4 is greater. The denominators are the same, so I can just look at the numerator, and since the numerator is larger, 2/4 is greater than 1/4. Okay? Now, even without having any models to look at, I could just write 2 fractions on my board. Okay? I could write 6/8, okay? And I could write 4/8. Now, think about it. Both of these are cut into 8 equal pieces. So there's 2 pies and they're both cut into 8 pieces. All right? In this pie, someone ate 6 pieces. And in this pie, someone ate 4 pieces. Which pie had more eaten out of it? The one where someone ate 6 pieces had more eaten because 6/8 of the pie was eaten, whereas in this pie, only 4/8 of the pie was eaten. And I could even draw a model to show you that. Here's my pie, okay, cut into 8 equal pieces. I know it's not perfect because I just drew it, but 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 6 pieces out of 8 have been eaten. 6/8 of the pie have been eaten. In this pie, it's also cut into 8s, but this time, only 4 of those pieces have been eaten. And visually, you can see that less of this pie has been eaten than this pie. So this fraction is greater than this fraction. 6/8 is greater than 4/8. Okay? Now, sometimes you're going to have to compare fractions and the denominators are not going to be the same. So, it's going to be trickier. I'm going to show you an example. Okay? Here is a pie cut into fifths. Okay, so 5 equal parts. Here is a pie cut into fourths, 4 equal parts. All right? Now, if I ate 1/5 of a pie, okay, or I ate 1/4 of a pie, let's think about which one I would have eaten more of. So, can you think for a minute, I'm going to give everyone a chance to stop and think about this for a second. If I ate 1/5 of a pie, or I ate 1/4 of a pie, which one do you think I would have eaten more of? Look at the example, the pictures, the visual models to give you an idea. Which one do you think I would have eaten more of? Well, let's see. This is what 1/5 looks like. This is what 1/4 looks like. Think about which piece looks bigger. Okay, I know that it's a little blurry. There we go. It should be straightening out. Sorry that it keeps trying to focus itself. Okay. I think you can tell that this 1/4 piece is larger than this 1/5 piece. And if you needed to double check, you could even put them on top of each other to see that hold on, I'm just going to focus this better, that the 1/4 piece is larger than the 1/5 piece. So 1/5 is greater, or I'm sorry, 1/4 is greater than 1/5. 1/5 is less than 1/4. And the reason for that is because when you cut a pie into more pieces, each piece becomes smaller. When you cut a pie into less pieces, the pieces that you cut are larger. So, if I were to cut another pie into 6ths or 7ths or 8ths, each of those pieces would be even smaller than the one that's cut into 5ths. And so that would be even smaller. So 1/8, okay, would be even less than 1/5. So I could say that 1/8 is less than 1/5. Oops, there you go. Now, so I want you to be thinking about the size of the pieces when you're comparing fractions, okay, and the denominators. The bigger the number on the denominator, okay, that means that the pie is cut into more pieces, and each piece is going to be smaller. All right? So, that's just a good little introduction here to comparing fractions. Now, I'd like you to take out your workbook page so that you are on page 101. Right, it's from your math packet, okay? Okay, so get out a pencil, and we're going to work through some of these together. So the nice thing about this workbook page is that there's going to be models, visual models for all of the problems. So this is going to make comparing these fractions a little easier than the one that you're going to do tomorrow. Because tomorrow's page, you're not going to have the visual models there necessarily to help you. So let's look at problem number 1. All right, there are 2 fractional models. There's 1/2, and this is 5/7. This one's cut into 2 pieces, and 1 is shaded in. This fraction is cut into 7 pieces, and 5 of them are shaded in. I want you, before we do this one even together, I want you to write down on your paper what you think the answer is going to be, and then you can check to see if you're correct. So which fraction do you think is greater? So whichever one you think is greater, you're going to write on this line, and the one that you think is less, you'll write here, because then it'll be blank is greater than blank. So go ahead and compare these two, and write the fractions, the fraction that you think is greater here, and the one that's less on this line. I'll give you a minute to try that. Okay, so as you can see, the shaded in part on 5/7 is greater than the shaded in part on 1/2. So in this case, 5/7 is greater than 1/2. So that's exactly how you do these problems. Now, I could also write this a different way. I could say that 1/2 is less than 5/7. That's another way to say the same thing. These two things mean the same thing, because 5/7 is greater than 1/2, which means that 1/2 is less than 5/7. I want you to pay close attention on this worksheet, because sometimes they're going to ask you to identify the fraction that's less, and sometimes they're going to ask you to identify the fraction that's greater. So let's look at problem number 2. This time we're going to compare 1/2 to 4/9. And this time they're asking you to decide which fraction is less. So you'll put the fraction that's less in the first line and the fraction that's greater in the second line. Go ahead and try that and see what you get. Okay. As you can see, 4/9 is shaded in, a smaller amount of the fraction is shaded in on 4/9 than it is on 1/2. So 4/9 is less than 1/2. I want you over here on this side of your paper for practice to write this out by telling me which one is greater. So write down which one is greater, and then we'll check our work. Okay, so if we know that 4/9 is less than 1/2, then that tells us that 1/2 is greater than 4/9, because it's just the opposite. You're just identifying which one is greater instead of identifying which one is less. All right. Now, you're going to do the back page, and I think that you're ready to go on your own for this page without my help. Now that we've gone through this, and there's a couple little reminders here for you that it's pretty easy to compare fractions that have the same denominator, because remember, if you're cutting a pie into 3 pieces, okay, it's easier to figure out if I eat one of those pieces compared to someone who eats 2 of those pieces. It's pretty easy to tell which one is greater there. Okay? When the denominators are the same, you just have to look at the numerator to see which fraction is greater. And that only works when the denominators are the same. So in both of these problems, the denominators are the same. So you can use the numerator to tell you which one is greater. Now, Pay attention. Sometimes they're going to ask you to identify the greater fraction. Sometimes they're going to ask you to identify the fraction that is less. And then on the bottom two problems, they're reminding you that it's actually pretty easy to compare fractions with the same numerator. Because if you think about it, in this situation, if you have a pie cut into 10 pieces, those pieces are going to be smaller than if you have a pie cut into 5 pieces. So if I eat 4 pieces of pie that's cut into 10 pieces, I'm not going to be eating as much as if I eat 4 pieces of pie that's only cut into 5 pieces, because those pieces are all going to be bigger. Okay, same thing here. In this case, I'm going to eat 3 pieces of pie. If the pie is cut into 7 slices, those 3 pieces that I eat are going to be smaller than if the pie is only cut into 5 pieces. Those pieces are going to be bigger when I eat them. So I'm clearly going to be eating more. Okay? Those are just a few hints for you. So work through the rest of this page. And then you will be, let me just double check here, you'll be typing your answers to the problems on the Google form that's attached. So we did the first 2 together, so you're not going to put those answers on the Google form. We're going to start with just the back page. And we're going to do problems 3, 4, 5, and 6. After you fill in your answers, you're going to put them in the Google form. And then it will tell you what your score is right away, so you can see how you did. All right? Good luck.